Texas, the Lone Star State, known for its massive size, oil wealth, cowboy culture, and fierce pride. But what if we told you that Texas isn't just a U.S. state? It was once its own country? And more surprisingly, some people still believe it could legally leave the United States, and even become independent again. Is that true? Could Texas secede from the U.S.? What makes it different from every other state? And why do some Texans still dream of going it alone? This is the story of Texas, the only U.S. state that was once a sovereign nation, and the modern-day movement trying to make it one again. To understand Texas today, you need to go back nearly 200 years. In 1836, after years of growing tension with the Mexican government, settlers in the Mexican territory of Texas declared independence. A bloody revolution followed, and after the legendary Battle of the Alamo and the victory at San Jacinto, the settlers established the Republic of Texas. It wasn't just a symbolic claim. Texas was a fully functioning nation. It had its own president, currency, diplomatic missions in Europe and the US, and even its own army and navy. Texas had international recognition from countries like France, the Netherlands, and even the United States. It signed treaties, issued passports, and tried to build itself as a new power in North America. But it wasn't easy. The Republic faced enormous financial problems, persistent threats from Mexico, and internal political struggles. Some leaders wanted Texas to remain independent, while others saw salvation in joining the United States. In 1845, Texas officially joined the United States, and that's where things start to get interesting. One of the biggest reasons some Texans believe they can leave the U.S. is because of how Texas entered it. There's a widespread belief that the Annexation Treaty gave Texas special rights, including the right to secede, or to split into 5 separate states if it ever wanted to. But how true is that? Well, there was no treaty. Texas was actually annexed through a joint resolution of Congress, not a treaty, and the idea of splitting into 5 states was mentioned, but only with congressional approval. This language has often been misinterpreted as granting Texas special status. In reality, the U.S. Constitution already allows new states to be created from existing ones, but only with approval from both the state and Congress. The confusion around this has fueled myths for generations. In schools, in books, and especially in political rhetoric, the story of Texas's unique entry into the Union has been repeated, often inaccurately. So, can Texas legally secede from the United States? The answer, legally speaking, is no. In the 1869 Supreme Court case Texas v. White, the court ruled that no state can unilaterally leave the Union. The justices wrote that the Union is perpetual, and any attempt to break away is unconstitutional unless approved by the other states or by revolution. This case settled the question after the Civil War, and made it clear that even Texas, despite its unique past, is still bound by the Constitution. But that hasn't stopped the debate. In fact, it's kept the idea alive, especially among certain political movements. In recent decades, the idea of Texas independence has resurfaced, not just in casual conversations, but in organized political groups. The most well-known is the Texas nationalist movement, which argues that Texas should hold a referendum on independence. Their slogan? Texas First, Texas Forever. They claim that Texas could stand on its own, economically, militarily, and politically, citing its energy industry, agriculture, technology sector, and unique culture. They even point to polling that shows 20 to 30% of Texans, depending on the year, support the idea of leaving the U.S. While the movement isn't mainstream, it's not entirely fringe either. It occasionally gains attention, especially during moments of political or economic tension. In 2021, Texas lawmakers introduced a bill that would allow voters to decide on secession. It didn't pass, but it reignited debate around the issue. Secession talk often spikes during moments of federal controversy, whether it's disagreements over immigration, gun control, or taxation. The idea of Texit, echoing Brexit, has become a symbol of rebellion, even if it's not realistic. Let's imagine, for a moment, that Texas did leave the U.S. Could it survive on its own? In theory, maybe. Texas has a massive GDP, larger than many countries. It's the second largest U.S. economy after California, with key industries in oil, tech, agriculture, and aerospace. It has major ports, military bases, and a large population. It also borders Mexico, giving it control over a vital section of international trade. Texas is rich in natural resources, hosts some of the world's largest corporations, and has a thriving tech sector in places like Austin. It's even home to the NASA Johnson Space Center. But independence would come with enormous challenges. Currency. Would it adopt the US dollar, or create a new currency? Defense. Would it form its own military, or rely on foreign alliances? Trade. How would it renegotiate access to US markets? Citizenship. What happens to US citizens in Texas and Texans abroad? Border control. Would there be new checkpoints between Texas and the rest of the US? These questions have no easy answers. Independence would be a legal, economic, and diplomatic nightmare. So why does the myth that Texas can secede legally still exist? Because it taps into something deeper than law. Identity. Texas has always seen itself as different, larger than life, fiercely independent, and historically unique. That spirit comes from its time as a republic, its frontier culture, and its outsized role in American history. Texans are raised with a sense of pride that often borders on nationalism. From school curriculums to popular media, the idea of Texas as its own country is woven into daily life. There's also a powerful emotional connection. The Alamo, for example, is more than a battle site. It's a symbol of sacrifice, of standing alone against overwhelming odds. Even the Texas flag, the Lone Star, is a symbol of standing alone. That narrative is part of school lessons, pop culture, and political rhetoric. This isn't just nostalgia, it's a living part of Texas politics and identity. Texas isn't the only region in the world with a secessionist movement. From Catalonia in Spain to Scotland in the UK, and Quebec in Canada, there are many regions where history, language, and identity fuel similar dreams. What makes Texas unique is that it was once an internationally recognized country, with borders, embassies, and treaties. That history gives its secessionist movement a legitimacy, at least emotionally, that others may lack. But global examples also show how difficult secession truly is. Catalonia held an independence referendum in 2017, and it was ruled unconstitutional. Scotland's 2014 vote failed, but another may be on the horizon. Even when a region votes for independence, turning that into legal and diplomatic reality is incredibly difficult. Texas would face the same, or even greater, hurdles. So, can Texas legally leave the United States? No, not under the Constitution, not without a civil war or a massive political shift. But could it ever try? Could the movement grow strong enough to challenge the system? That's not impossible, and that's what keeps the conversation alive. Texas is more than just a state. It's a symbol of independence, of rebellion, of pride. And whether it remains part of the U.S. forever or not, the myth of secession tells us something powerful, that history never truly dies. It just changes shape. Thanks for watching Truth Travels. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe for more hidden histories and geopolitical mysteries from around the world. Let us know in the comments, should Texas be allowed to leave the U.S.? Or is it better off staying in the Union?